Well, hello, piano teachers, and welcome to our wrap-up day of the Piano Pivot. If you don't know us already, my name is Nicola Canton, and with me is the wonderful and amazing Tim Topham. And today we're just going to be summarizing what we talked about this week and talking about a few things you can do to move forward from here. It's been an absolutely amazing week. We've thoroughly enjoyed it. We've loved seeing everyone's comments coming in and all that fun stuff. And just the plans that people have and the varied ideas that people are getting out of this. And one teacher called it a global brainstorm, which I think is awesome. I think that's a great way to talk about it. Yeah. So this is just the beginning. So don't think that just because we finished this week, it's over. So we're going to be talking about how we move forward from here and what you can do. Because the whole point of this has been we're going to have an amazing Q1 of 2018. And we're going to help you to carry this all forward and keep the momentum going towards the new year after your short teaching break, of course. So we're going to be going through the wrap-up sheet today, but before I do that, I just wanted to mention a few comments that have been coming in today as people work through the videos. So after yesterday's video, Maureen had a wonderful comment where she was mentioning how much it has helped her to hire out some of the tasks in her studio. And she has hired a business organizer/coach and an accountant, both of whom she trades lessons for their children for their time. So that's been a fantastic thing for her. Yeah. And she also has an admin assistant. She said she didn't think anyone would accept the job for just 2 to 8 hours a week, but they did. And it's been wonderful just to take those things off her plate. And even if it is only 2 hours, you totally can hire for this stuff. It's still totally worth it. And it can free up those 2 hours for you to do something fun, spend time with your family, relax, teach more, whatever it is that you want to do with that time now that you don't have to input stuff in a spreadsheet or whatever she has them doing. So I thought that was amazing.
Yeah, good on you, Maureen. That's great.
Wonderful. Moving back a day from there, Michael was mentioning a great app that you can use to catalog your library. If you've managed to throw out a bunch of stuff and you have the important stuff left, don't do this with your whole collection, otherwise you'll have missed the point. But if you have just the important stuff left, you can catalog it in this app. It's called Libib, L-I-B-I-B, and he posted about it and how it's helping him, and it's helped him organize all his stuff already, so that's wonderful. And moving back again, because some people are behind us, so keep working through these videos and leaving your comments if that's what you're doing. Mary Kay, another M, was talking about her dream student, and I wanted to mention her because she didn't have a printer. Did you see this, Tim?
No.
Didn't have a printer, so she drew a picture of her. She redrew the whole worksheet with the dream student in the middle. And I just thought that was adorable and amazing. And she had been working through her dream student just today. So you can still keep catching up with these things. If you haven't watched all the videos, you can go back to them now and see what everyone's been up to and what you can get out of this as well. Did you have any comments you wanted to mention, Tim?
Yeah, totally. Well, I reiterate everything that you've said about how much we've enjoyed running this and seeing such great feedback. And we can tell we've created a lot of thinking for teachers. We've really made you think about what's going on, which was exactly the idea. And to reiterate, as well as Nicola said, the goal of this is to help for your planning next year. You don't have to finish everything today or even this week or even next week. It could be that you spend some time over the break, and that was the goal of this. So it's really to set you up for that first quarter next year. I just have to say too, congratulations to the Aussies who are here this morning. It's 8 o'clock in Australia or earlier, depending on where you are. And I can see Alison's here, Linda's here as well. Sorry if I've missed any of the other Aussies in the group. Great effort to be here, and many of you have been here every day for 7 days, so I'm very impressed. I just wanted to mention in regard to yesterday's productivity work, Sarah was talking about the amount of time it takes to create arrangements of pop music and simplifying arrangements for her students. And this is just a really easy win. Guys, if you're creating arrangements for your students and notating them and then teaching them a simplified score, just stop doing that. There's two reasons. One, it takes a lot of time to do it, and that's time that you could be doing something more productive, in my opinion. Secondly, students don't learn anything by having you do that for them. there's a lot of learning. In fact, there's more learning in helping a student understand how to reduce something themselves than there is in reading a score straight from the music. So I would be saying to you, if that's something, look, if it's something you're passionate about and you really enjoy, then please make time to do that. But if it's taking a lot of time and it's a bit of a drag, then just stop doing it and instead say to students, well, here's how I'm actually simplifying this for you. I'm looking at the chord symbols. I'm not actually reading the music, and I'm taking the melody. I'm simplifying the rhythm. So here are some things that you can do to do that yourself. So I thought that was a really important one to mention. The other thing that I wanted to mention was the effective hourly teaching rate calculations. This has sparked a lot of great conversation in the group. If you haven't seen it already, have a look at video, yesterday's day 5 video all about business. One of the things we calculated was your teaching rate after all of your expenses and tax are taken out, and what that figure is. So please make sure you do that if you haven't already. Remember that there's really 3 things that you can do to improve that rate if it's a little bit low. You can either be more productive with your time, you can, I'm having a mental block, you can increase your rate, and what was the third one, Nicola?
Reduce
My
your
brain's
expenses.
a bit dead. You can reduce your expenses. Thank you. Yeah. Sorry, we had a bit of a party here yesterday, and this is a Saturday morning here, Australian time, and my brain is slightly foggy, but I'm gonna be holding up. I'm gonna power through it. Yeah. So that was it. That were the ones from me, anyway, Nicola.
Okay, awesome. So keep your highs and hellos coming in if you're joining us. I haven't seen Ken today.
No, where is Ken?
Which it would be such a shame if we missed the last one.
All right, we'll see
anyway,
if he pops in later.
Yeah, we'll still give him credit anyway, because he did make 6 days at 5 a.m. and I think he's the only one to do that at the 5 a.m. time zone. So that's pretty amazing.
Record. Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, so we're going to dive into this wrap-up sheet. But before we do, what I want to caveat it with is you're not supposed to do this now. In fact, you can do a copy of it now if you want to, just so that you get the process. But I want to make sure that you print another copy, and that's going to go inside your workbook. Leave it in there. Put your workbook away in a drawer while you relax over Christmas, and then return to it maybe in late December or early January and do the wrap-up sheet then. So it's meant as a sort of revisiting of all the stuff we've talked about, and it'll work best if you do it after you've let these things sort of mull and stew in the back of your head for a little while, and you'll have more clarity about all this stuff. But I'm going to run through it today, and you're welcome to fill in one copy today. Just make sure that you have a fresh one to do as you're revisiting at the end of the year and getting ready for Q1. So the things you'll find on the sheet are basically following the structure that we followed throughout the 6 days, including the pre-launch day. The first thing is a summary of your dream studios that we talked about on day 1. Now that was a whole sheet, and here you're just going to condense it into one sentence. This is the most important thing about my dream studio. This is the key thing that makes it amazing to me, because that'll help to give you clarity over where you're going moving forward.
I might just, sorry, Nicola.
Yeah.
Just to interrupt, I'll just remind people, this is the sheet we're working from. So this is a little bonus that we created. It's a 2-page summary, and if I'll pop the link to it in the show notes. Sorry, not the show notes. We're not on the podcast, are we? In the comments right now, just so people, in case people are wondering. Okay, that's what we're talking about today.
Awesome, and that'll auto download for you when you enter that link. So it'll automatically appear in your downloads folder if you can't find it. A couple of people were looking for it. So working through that sheet, you'll find your dream studio then at the top. This is what you're doing at the end of this year, before New Year's, around that time. And then you'll take day 1, which was all about you. So I want you to take 3 of your top 3 personal goals for yourself and write a little bit about how you're going to achieve those. So we created a whole step-by-step plan, but just to summarize it for yourself so you have all this stuff on one sheet would be, I think, fantastic for you to look back over and sort of recommit to all those goals after Christmas has happened and you're feeling a little bit less enthusiastic about getting on your stationary bike. Just rewrite them out and it'll help you to refocus on them. The next thing that you'll find is about your students, and I've just given you one space there for the top thing that you want to have your students achieve. So your student that we were talking about in 10, 20 years down the track, what's the number one thing you would like them to be able to do with their musical skills? What would you like for your students if they get through studies with you? What's the perfect scenario for them? And you're just writing down one top thing. So one imagined scenario, not the whole brainstorm, just condense it down into the most important thing, whether that's the musical storytelling we talked about, whether that's being able to accompany people, whatever that is for you, just condense it down to the most important. I know it's hard to pick one, but just pick one, because it will give you focus, and you can still achieve all these other things, but it'll help you to define who you are as a teacher. And then moving on from there, we had day 3, which was all about your teaching, which was awesome. And we talked about how you can take single teaching goals and carry them through into what professional development you need to do, or what research you need to do, or what practice you need to do yourself in order to teach those things. So it's a really great way to avoid the overwhelm, bring it all back down to what's really important, and boil it down to what's important to you and your students, and what you're actually going to do moving forward. And again, give you that focus and clarity that you so need if you're surrounded by Pinterest and blogs and all the stuff. Just keep your focus on those 3 new activities that you're going to try in the first quarter. And that'll make so much bigger difference to your students than it ever could if you just tried all these different things every single week and printed out a bunch of games and left them all over your studio. That's not going to achieve anything, but this will if you focus on those 3 things. So again, you're reiterating this to yourself, looking through your workbook and picking out the most important things. Now, they might not be in your workbook at all. It might be that as you think about this over your break and you come back to it, something else jumps out to you that, I can't believe I didn't write this down before. That's totally cool. That's the point of this exercise, and that's why we're encouraging you to have those few weeks of a break. So if it's something you didn't write down, that's totally fine. If it's your top 3 at the end of December, at the end of 2017, and you're going to teach it in 2018, that's wonderful. Write that down and write down the steps you're going to take to achieve that, what you need to learn about. Then on our whirlwind tour, I know we've covered a lot of ground this week, we moved into your music stash. So the most important part of that is that you set that audit date. Some superstar amazing teachers have already cleared out their stash. I saw another one today, which is awesome. She has a whole box of books that she's giving away or selling, and I think that's amazing. If you haven't done it, yeah, it's so good. If you haven't done it yet, I really hope you've written in a date in your diary. If you haven't done that, please do. And that's going to go on your wrap-up sheet as well, so that you do commit to it. And if by the time you do your wrap-up sheet, you've blown past your date and not done it for whatever reason, maybe family or life happened, make a new one. So that will give you a second opportunity to make sure that gets done, and that you get really the best use you can out of your music library. That's what we're really all about, is that you're using all this stuff and getting to enjoy it, and your students are getting the best possible repertoire for what they need to learn.
I might just interject very quickly, Nicola, on that. Early next year, I'm going to do a live webinar at the piano, and people seem to like the webinars I do, particularly while I'm sitting at the piano demonstrating. And it's going to be all about mashing up music, and that's my words for being able to take pretty much any written score and get creative with it and expand its possibilities. So a lot of this music is great, but it's only really the start. There are so many more things you can do with a score by doing simple things like repeating left hands while improvising in the right hand. So I'm going to actually do a webinar on that, and we'll make sure your guys here in the community all find out about that if they're interested.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's actually something I've been doing tons this week, because we're getting ready for what I call the January Jam, which is our January concert. And
cool.
We're doing all that stuff. We're repeating the piece 3 times. The first time is playing, and then we do improv, and then we do all these embellishments, and it's been super fun.
Brilliant.
I'll be watching that one for sure for more tips.
Yeah, great.
Awesome. The final day was, of course, the most serious, and it was about your business. And as Tim mentioned, one of the key things we want you to look into is your effective hourly teaching rate. What are you really making for all the time that you spend on your teaching versus all the stuff that you spend all the money you spend on it. And we basically want you to narrow down those 3 things that Tim was talking about. Should you be raising your fees? Should you be lowering your costs? Or should you be outsourcing some of this stuff so that you can spend less time and be more efficient with your teaching? So on the wrap-up sheet, what you'll find is a space for 3 tasks that you hate, that you are going to try and find someone to do for you. And this is, I want you to do everything in the pivot, but if you do nothing else and you just do this, get rid of those 3 horrible things that you hate doing, whether that's bookkeeping or emails or whatever it is for you.
Cleaning. A lot of people said that.
Yeah, cleaning. Yeah. That was another one people mentioned. Yeah. If there's something that you hate doing, then you can find a way to get rid of it. Almost everything, except, as Tim said yesterday, teaching, which, you know, I'm assuming you love teaching. So hopefully that's fine.
The other thing to mention there too is that it's hard at first to see that the value, let's say a cleaner, right? A cleaner's coming in let's say they're coming once a week. That's probably more than necessary, but once a week and you're spending $100 on them. The hardest thing is to realize that that's giving you opportunity. That's what that's doing. So it's not that it's $100 out of your pocket. It's that you've now got 3 hours that you can spend doing things which will hopefully build your studio, allow you to create more money down the track in other ways. It's an opportunity cost exercise. Okay, so I know it's hard when you know you might be struggling with your income a little bit to go, I can't spend that amount on that bit of software or whatever it is. But just think, if it saves you 5 hours that you could use to then build your studio and create amazing things, then that's money well spent. Definitely.
And try to keep in mind as well that you are not the expert at everything. So I love the example of whatever your hourly rate is. Let's just say it's $20. But would you pay a really crap web developer $20 an hour? No, that would be a terrible use of your money. And that's what you're doing, because you're spending hours and hours doing this because you're not good at it. Maybe you are great at web development, but whatever it is that you're not good at or that you hate, so you kind of end up taking tons of breaks from it and walking around the house and looking for other things to do, you're just cutting down your hourly rate again and again and again. So just like Tim said, if you hire that stuff out, you actually will save yourself time, which is money, you know, because we're self-employed and all that stuff. So
Amy wraps it up well. She's just said, think of the value, not the cost. 100%.
Yeah, definitely. So the next thing on your wrap-up sheet, after you've eliminated these 3 tasks that you absolutely hate, which I really want you to do, then you're going to take a look at your numbers. And I've given you space just for a couple of numbers, whatever the most important figures are to you. So we gave you a lot of space in the workbook to work through your page views, your Facebook likes, your income, and a bunch of other stuff. But what are the most important metrics for you to track? Even if you just pick out 2 and you keep a really good eye on those, whether that's email inquiries plus income, those would be 2 great things to keep track of, and it would make a huge difference to your business if you really knew where you were with these and took steps to improve upon them. Just those 2 things, whatever those 2 things are for you. And then finally, I've left space there for your income mix, because especially when the first day we did the pivot, we had a lot of people saying that they wanted to branch outside of teaching, that they wanted to diversify their income and not be reliant on the teaching because it didn't feel stable to them. So we had that piggy bank brainstorm, which I've seen a couple of photos of, which is super cool. And I want you to take 3 of those ideas. So tons of stuff there. Whichever ones jump out to you, whether they're from your own sheet or from the comments that people left, there were tons of great ideas thrown out yesterday. Whatever 3 ideas you look at and go, that might be interesting, just look into those 3. Just put those 3 down and write down some stuff you would need to research in order to know whether you can move forward with them, whether you would need extra equipment or whatever you would need to move forward. And maybe you take then one of those into Q1 and you experiment with it. Did I do a good job of summarizing 5 days of work?
You did a great job. Yeah, and with those areas that you might be interested in, if just make sure that you're passionate about them. Don't say you're going to start groups of preschoolers if you really don't like teaching preschoolers, or you don't like teaching groups, or whatever it is. It's got to be something that really fires you up. You really want to start doing arrangements of music and selling it online or something, whatever. But that's what that is. Even if you just did one of them, I mean, we've given you space for 3. Just one is fine too. But again, just trying to think outside the confines of your studio and the music box that we all are in.
Definitely. It's like exercise, that people wonder about the most efficient exercise, which burns the most calories, blah, blah, blah. And then the best advice I've ever heard is it's the one you'll do.
Yes.
Right? If you hate it, you're not going to do it. So it's pointless anyway, considering that it makes, loses you 5 extra calories per hour or whatever it does. That's irrelevant because you're not going to do it because you hate it. So the best income diversification is the same. If you're not going to love doing it and it's just going to become a drag on your life, then it's not going to be profitable in the long term.
Yep. And I just want to mention a couple of things being effective in what you're doing. And a lot of people mentioned the overwhelm. That's that sense of overwhelm that we can all find, particularly at this time of the year, but just all through the year. One of the questions to ask yourself, if you really want to make a difference and be effective, is what is the one high impact thing that I can do this week that's going to move the needle forward more than anything else? What's the one highest impact thing between now and this time next week that you could do? If I was coaching any of you who are watching this and you came to me and said, oh, it's just all too hard, there's too many things to go on, I'd say, let's have a look at your goals. What is one of the highest impact things you can do? And that is your goal for the week. But when you come to next week, we would look at that and go, okay, how do we go? And then we would go, right, what's this week's highest impact thing that you can do? Okay, that is just the way to make effective change, in my opinion. Having routines can be really, really useful. So I've mentioned on the podcast, I think before, about how I tend to structure my days in different ways. So I have a completely clear day. As much as I can on Thursday, I try not to do any teaching at all, and I spend it on my business and dreaming big and looking at my analytics and metrics. I know that I think, Nicola, you spend Monday mornings, I think, planning the week's worth of lessons. Is that right? You set aside that time for that kind of process? Yep. And so, perhaps just having ideas of different days of the week, different activities for you, that can be a good way to look at things. And I'd also say that productivity, being productive is great, and it's a word that everyone kind of aspires to, but I would add that being productive is only useful if you're effective. I'll say that again. Being productive and aiming for high productivity is only good if you're being effective, because you can be incredibly productive on all the wrong tasks, right? So that's why we started this whole thing with goals and dreams and trying to actually write things down and set it into concrete, in effect, in the workbook, because that helps you not only be productive but be effective. Does that make sense, Nicola? Definitely.
Another way to look at that productivity thing is a lot of people think of productivity or try to do productivity, and what they really come up with is busyness, and that's not productivity. So productivity that is effective is, exactly right. And that one thing is so powerful, and it's so important because teachers tend to look at all this social media and all the stuff, and they don't notice that they're seeing all these teachers' things at the same time. And they tend to take that in as, I need to do everything that's there. But each one of those teachers did one of those things at one time. So in order to actually get it done. So just take one thing each week, as Tim's saying. That's the best way to move forward.
Yep. And I wanted to say we're going to wrap this up quite soon. And in a moment, I'm going to just head over and do a little screen share with you. But before I do that, I want to mention the comment that I mentioned on for the first day. It was about writing down goals and having a supportive community around you. So I'll mention that. But in the meantime, while I'm doing that, Nicola's going to keep an eye on the questions and comments. If you have any comments or questions, firstly, about anything that we've done this week, feel free to ask that now. And the other thing I would love to hear from you is, which was the most impactful day for you so far? If you've been able to view a few of them, write down what that is in the comments and why that has made you think bigger than before, or will have the biggest impact, you think, in the future. The quote that I had before was about the impact of writing down goals. So it said this: people that write down goals are 39% more likely to achieve them than others who don't write them down. But more importantly, those who write their goals and report their progress to a friend or coach are 76% more likely to achieve their goals. So that whole idea of having a friend or coach, I think, is really, really important and crucial. And it's exactly why I actually created a membership site for piano teachers to support us all doing these things. And some of you have seen my coffee cup. So this thing here, this is my branded InnerCircle coffee cup. That's what's on the other side, which you don't normally see. And what I thought I'd do is just spend maybe 2 minutes. I want to show you inside 2 key areas of my InnerCircle for those of you who haven't seen it before. And that is the course library and also some of the discounts, because quite a few people have been talking about how they would like to maybe try teaching groups. Well, I've actually got a full course for that, so you don't have to go anywhere else and waste time finding something. I've got a course for that. Or you might just want to start doing more chord work, and I've got a course for that too. So I'm going to flip over to my screen share now just to give you a really quick look. And for those of you who are already InnerCircle members, we're not going to spend too long on this, so don't worry too much. This is actually the main screen when you log into the InnerCircle. You can see we've got a mastermind next week, so that's displayed there. These are our community forums, a little bit like what you see in the Vibrant Music community. Down here, comments and main questions on the right-hand side. And you can see the events. Many of these events, of course, aren't publicly available. They're just for members, and various information about who's online and that sort of thing. But what I wanted to do is take you to the resource library. So this is where I store things like teaching videos. So videos of me and some of the other expert teachers in the forum actually in their studios teaching, which is just a great one. All of our webinars, backlog of all of those too. So if things like we're talking about productivity, effective teaching with Paul Harris, we've got ones on studio marketing, all those great things. But this is where the magic happens. So when it comes to courses, this is just a list of the main courses that we've created so far, and we continue to add new ones. There's, of course, the Piano Flicks Teaching Pop Music, which was my first ever course. Started it all, yeah, absolutely. Nicola's created the online studio launchpad. Now, this one here is actually all about setting up a website from scratch in 7 stages, some with multiple parts and a full workbook. And you can see at the top, there's actually a video, I'm not sure if it's going to load right now, of Nicola actually at the computer doing these things. So it's phenomenal. Here's part of my 4-chord composing course. And me at the piano. So this is me at the piano teaching my student Will while I'm doing the 4-chord composing. So this is all about composing things with students. So you get the teaching plan, you get some notes, and you get the full video. So it's such a great time saver. We want to help you be more productive, save time, forget going around the internet. There's one place where you can grab all this, and that's in my InnerCircle membership. Lastly, really quickly, I'll just show you the member discounts. A few people have been talking about things like My Music Staff or places to get website development and things like that. So these are all discounts that I've organised with people around the world for discounts on things like, if you're a music learning theory teacher, almost 20% off music learning theory books. There's a Piano Safari discount ongoing forevermore. Airturn, Music Teachers Helper, well, you name it, there are discounts here which you can access, and that actually can save you huge amounts of money. So that's just a really, really quick look, and I didn't want to spend too much time, but for those of you who aren't a member of the Inner Circle, and that sounds pretty interesting for you, and I hope it does, then stay tuned, because in the next couple of days, I'm actually going to send you some emails about how you can access membership yourself, and I'm in a Christmas festive account before Christmas, okay? If you're not a member yet, and that's really interesting and you're really excited about it, that's so cool, don't go and buy a full price membership yet, because as I say, I'm going to give you a discount coming up just to save a little bit of money before Christmas, okay? So that'll be coming to your inbox in the next couple of days. For those of you who are already members, you won't be getting any of that, of course. We'll just be going straight inside the community and being able to talk about some of our Piano Pivot goals and things like that. Nicola, of course, is my community manager, so she's in the thick of it all the time as well. So if you're a member of this community here on Facebook, then you'll be right at home, because Nicola's with us.
Yeah, there's some awesome comments coming in. Alison, who's an IC member, she said, I set up my website using Nicola's course, my course, best thing I've done. Business is booming. So that's amazing.
Brilliant. Thanks, Alison.
Yeah.
I had the pleasure of meeting Alison at my launch, book launch, not long ago. So that was great. And so good to hear, Alison. It's really great to hear case studies like that. Thanks for sharing that. Linda, of course, is one of our very first members, has been at every single mastermind and meeting we've ever had. So thank you, Linda, for all your support too.
Super. There's some really cool comments coming in. Natasha answered your question about which day was the best. So she said if she had to pick one, it would be yesterday, working at the hourly pay rate, and I agree that was a really good moment. If you haven't gone back, if you haven't seen that video, definitely go back and work at the effective hourly rate. That's awesome.
Yep. I can see Catherine's asking about, in Queensland, they do 20 hours of professional development. Yes, all my courses have certificates of completions, and the webinars do as well. If there's anything that you need my signature on or whatever, I can provide that. Absolutely. I am only supportive of people tracking their professional development. Yeah. So, yeah, that's a great thing to do. Natasha says, every day was good for me. Oh, sorry, that was the one that you just read out, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry, my bad. Catching up with the comments. I will just mention
day 3 as well. So, yeah, different people liking different parts, which is great.
I'm going to put one other link in the comments, Nicola, while you do a little wrap up. I should actually, before that, I should say, can I just say thank you, Nicola, for all your work on this, for one. Nicola has done a huge amount of work behind the scenes, and all that beautiful playbook that you're writing things in, that's her magic. So thank you for that. Also, thank you so much for letting us infiltrate your beautiful community of teachers here on Facebook. That was very kind of you. So thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thanks for including me. This is totally Tim's baby from the start. So I've loved working on it and brainstorming it with you. It's been wonderful.
I'm glad we've worked on it together. It's great. I'm just going to put a link in the comments to another way that you can access the replays. If you're wanting, there's a page on my website which has the full, just on one page, every video listed. So I'm just going to pop a link in the show notes now, in the comments now.
Yeah, awesome. I just wanted to reiterate finally on that wrap-up sheet that you have to print a blank one and put it in the back of your workbook. So if you missed me saying that, you need to do that. And I'd also love you to set the date for that, as well as your sheet music audit. So if you haven't got a date set for it, please do set it. Dana said she loved the whole week, and she set the studio audit date for later this month during her vacation, during her holidays, but she's secretly kind of excited about it. So I think that's awesome.
That's great. Oh, fantastic. That's what we like to hear.
Yeah. And Louise is saying she loved day 2, really made her consider what and why she teaches. So that's awesome as well. Great to get people thinking about their philosophy and how they're different from other teachers. Because, you know, if you define yourself more, it can only help your marketing and everything else you're doing. So useful. Laura says she's a Nicola groupie.
She
is. She's awesome.
Laura, you're a
Laura.
superstar. Another member of the Inner Circle who has
she's
done
wonderful.
amazing things.
She's
has,
so
has
supportive
grown,
inside there.
has grown hugely herself, but also supported everyone. It was good to see there from Amy too. Best recommendation was my referral to my music staff.
Yeah.
So glad to hear you found that really useful. It's not for everyone, of course, Amy, and everyone, but it can help. And if it works for you, great. And of course, for my members, 90-day trial, so you can't really go wrong.
Yeah, that's amazing.
All change is hard at first, messy in the middle, and gorgeous at the end. What a cool comment, Amy. You've come up with lots of great comments today.
Wow.
Should get you to write some website copy for me or something, I think. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Amazing.
No, that's great. All right, well, look, I think we should probably wrap it, Nicola. What do you think?
Yes, we should. I'm getting distracted by comments, but we totally should. Yeah.
Well, we will enjoy reading all those comments. Thank you all so much for joining us on this, giving up your evenings or mornings, particularly early mornings. Ken, when you watch this video, we're so disappointed in you for not being here for your 7th day at 5 a.m. No, we're not. We think you are amazing, and thank you so much for joining us. All of you guys, it's been a pleasure, and most importantly, Nicola and I cannot wait to see what you achieve. So can you tell us, email us, leave a message in the forums, the groups, wherever, to tell us when you have a real win with this, because that makes it all so worthwhile, and it's just so great to be able to share these wins with you. So when you have that great new win, you suddenly become a millionaire from your piano teaching, then you let us know, okay?
Yes, and absolutely. And every time you set one little thing per week and achieve that thing, that's what I'd love to hear about.
Yeah.
Wherever you know where to.
And it doesn't matter how small it is as well. If it's meaningful for you, it's great to hear about. All right, I think we better wrap it there. Thank you all, and thank you, Nicola. We'll speak to you soon, and I'll see you in the Inner Circle if you're not there already. Bye, everyone.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Thanks, guys.
See you.